You know, it's always good to have several rods handy that you might use real quickly when you're out fishing. In the fall of the year, there's one rod that you ought to have rigged with a certain type bait. What is that? Do you know? Good morning, guys and girls. October 26th, reading from a Catch a Better Life book. Catch a Better Life book. We can get them at jimmyhouston.com, Bass Pro Shop, Hobby Lobby, Books A Million, Barnes & Nobles, Amazon, just about everywhere. Windy out here this morning. We're looking at Deuteronomy. By the way, this book, we've got a scripture for every single day of the year. We post them at 5 o'clock in the morning Central Time, 5 o'clock Central Time, on YouTube. The YouTube channel is called Catch a Better Life with Jimmy Houston. If you're not subscribed to the channel, subscribe to it right now. If you are subscribed, please, please, please share this with everybody you can. We've got 22,000 folks on there now. 22,000. Not the biggest YouTube channel, but I'm telling you what, it is the most important YouTube channel out there. I'm a little biased, but that's what I believe. We're looking at the book of Deuteronomy. Deuteronomy 8:18 says, "You shall remember the Lord your God." We could just stop right there. You shall remember the Lord your God. But look what else it says. "For it is He who gives you power to get wealth." Remember the Lord your God, for it is He who gives you power to get wealth. Here's what I wrote about this, and I love this scripture. Oh, I do love this scripture. I've heard it said many times about some superstar angler, "He's forgotten more than I'll ever know." You ever said that? Yeah, I've never said that. You'll never hear me say that. I've fished with these guys, and can I tell you, they don't forget anything. They don't forget nothing. So you don't be saying they've forgotten more than I know, because they don't forget. Today's verse bothers many Christians. It bothers them. Some people think that you got to be poor, you got to suffer to be a good Christian. Even wealthy Christians feel guilty about their wealth at times. But God creates wealth. Can I tell you? God creates wealth. It says right here, He gives you power to get wealth. God creates wealth. This magnificent story that this verse is in Deuteronomy started with God telling Abraham that He would give him and his descendants hundreds of thousands, maybe even millions of acres of land. Millions of acres of land. And you know what? He did. He did. He gave that to Abraham and his descendants. What if God was to come to you in a vision and say, and Abraham was an old guy, you know, he didn't even have any descendants, he didn't have any kids, and tell him, "I'm going to give you and your descendants hundreds of thousands of acres of land." Hundreds of thousands of acres of land. We know what land's worth nowadays. A little bit cheaper back in those days, but still very, very important. Even millions of acres of land. I'm going to give them to your descendants. I'm going to make your descendants so numerous that you can't count them all. So many you can't count them. And He did that. God does what He claims. Does that sound like a God who wants you and me to be poor and suffering? I think not. Not every Christian is going to become financially wealthy. But every Christian will be richly blessed. Can I say it again? Not every Christian will become financially wealthy, but every Christian will be richly blessed. Jesus Himself said when He walked on earth, "You will always have the poor with you." We certainly got them in the United States of America, the wealthiest country in the world. We got a lot of poor people. We have a lot of homeless people. Jesus said they will always be here. Do we need to take care of them and help them? You bet we do. But Jesus said they will always be here. But every Christian will be richly blessed. Some of the folks that Jesus helped and blessed were some of those homeless folks that lived when Jesus walked the earth. Remember the Lord your God, just like this says, you shall remember the Lord your God. Remember the Lord your God, put Him first in everything that you do, and expect His blessings. Expect them. You know, I can't wait to see what God's going to do next in my life. I can't wait to see what God's going to do next. Oh, it's exciting. You shall remember the Lord your God, for it is He who gives you power to get wealth. Hundreds of thousands, millions of acres. Oh my goodness. Here's our tip for today, and it's a good one. It's kind of a little bit of a tricky question there, I know, because you need to have rods that have different baits on them than what you're primarily fishing with in case something happens that causes you to need that bait instantly, really, really quickly. Always have a rod handy with a good schooling fish bait on it in the fall. Something that you can catch schooling fish. What type of bait do you need to catch schooling fish? You need a bait that looks like a shad, probably, because they're probably schooling on shad. You need a bait that looks like a shad. You need a bait that you can cast a long way, and you need a bait you can pick up and get to real handy. So have it tied on. Something like a rattle type bait works really good. A spinner bait is a good school fish bait, but a lot of them, if you got one that's not very heavy, can't throw it real far. But have a good school fish bait on. A Lucky Strike Mimic Impersonator is a great one. You throw it a long way, have a shad colored insert in it, looks like a shad. It's great for schooling bass. Great for schooling bass. You can fish it right up on top if you want to. You can let it drop down a little bit and fish down below that school. Be ready for those schooling bass in the fall because they're going to be doing it. They're going to be doing it. Guys and girls, go out there and have you a great one today. And remember, I sure do love you.